Hey, it's Mike with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It's June 19th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and it was an FOMC day. You generally in the summer, this is kind of what you would expect to see on FOMC day. News announcement. You'll see a tight range like this. This one does tend to have a downward bias to it. You can see that we're still making lower highs and lower lows down through here, but it's still we're still swinging above and below the EMA the entire time, and we're really not able to get below these closes in here from yesterday afternoon. You can see we bounced there. We finally pushed a little bit lower during that last hour before the news, and then when the news came out, we took off. So you can see that even during news items, the price action still holds. The range, we had a failed breakout. We got back in. We tried to go lower, and we just kind of bounced around in the upper half of this original trading range. And this might have expanded a little bit. I would have probably moved this up to here by that point. And so this part here is an hour or so. It starts at noon, basically. So about an hour into the news item, and you can see how it went crazy in here during the news. But you can see, even if you are playing this range and you knew it was probably going to go higher on a failed breakout, you can see there's no way to survive that. You would have got stopped out. There's no way you want to ride that out, because if it doesn't come back, you've lost a lot of points there. So that's a pretty big move. That's about a 6-point move right there that you don't want to get burned on. So my recommendation on an FOMC announcement, always be out about an hour before, and then I would stay out until the volatility kind of came back to normal. It's still a little high here. I went ahead and just kind of, because right in here is starting to look like it's normalizing. It's still a little bit volatile right in here, and I would say it probably didn't get completely normal till here, but it really looked like it here. So I marked a couple of these trades later here in the afternoon, but you got to be real careful. You want to let all that volatility settle down. Really what you would expect here, you got two legs up, so you'd expect two legs down here. And then you got a little two-legged correction. This is a double bottom, so there's two moves right there. And so that's a second entry short, basically. And you would think maybe you get a measured leg back down. You got two measured legs up, so you'd hope to get two measured legs down. You actually end up getting what looks like two measured legs. There's leg one, and you see this leg came up short, but that's where you would expect it to go, back to this possible trend line, and we actually get closer to a measured leg right here. So but this thing was still, the range was still the principal, or the major pattern here that was really playing out, although there is a two-tiered channel working higher, and you can see prices working off that and working off this midline here into the close. So, but this is still up and down, back and forth above, below the EMA. So I'd still be trading this pretty much like a range. You may take this trend line into account. You really don't get any play off of it, but you may take it into account. So, and there's really probably a trend line working across here. But again, you're better off just to kind of play the range here. So anyway, I'm going to back out. We'll talk about the trades. There's not many today. It's kind of a quiet news type day where you just don't get a lot of trades. But so this won't take long today. The 7 o'clock hour came right in here on this little, notice we had a little trend working up. You had a break, and we had two legs up. And we just did get a new high, and so now, and there is some strong resistance. This line, I would have probably had a line across here as well. You could just move that down here for now, and you can see that coming into play. Notice there's a second entry short right here, but it's a very neutral bar, and we just barely got a new high, so it could bounce off that EMA again. I'd want to see a little better pattern here, a little better reversal. There is a lower high right here, but you got two dojis almost side by side. you're still closing right above the EMA. So I'd want to see a reversal pattern. And notice we push on through the EMA, pull back, and you get a failed second entry long. The minute it breaks below this bar, or the minute it breaks lower after turning up is when it would be a failed second entry. So it's right below this bar, so your sell stop would go there. However, this is still your swing high, so your safety stop has to go above it. So keep that in mind. Even though you're going to enter right below this red bar, your safety stop really has to go up here. So, and that would have been a nice move early on. That's the first really good trade, and it really, and this one actually takes off here. It was a little iffy right in here, but it just keeps working lower. And where does it bounce? Exactly where we had some support yesterday afternoon across there. And I marked this one. There's no break of this trend yet, but when this bounced right here, being a little bit away from the EMA with a nice bullish bar, it's really risky, but with it making a new low right there, because this was your original overnight low, so it may bounce, and it probably will at least come back to the trend line or the EMA, and it does. This one's pretty risky, so this one too, you might argue for it to be. It actually broke. I think this one broke higher and then traded back down and then traded back up again, and that's tricky. So I wouldn't want to go long above that bar right there. You might go long above this one, but it's right into the EMA and there's support all the way across there. So I just sit tight, and it actually pushes through the EMA, pulls back, and gives you another failed second entry short, so another reversal pattern, just about where you would expect it to reverse. And so I like going long here. And you're just looking to ride it back up to the highs again. This little pullback right here, I forgot to mention. This is where prices actually opened today. This is where they closed yesterday. So there was a little bit of a gap right there. Notice how quickly they filled that gap and then turned back down. So that's what prices were actually doing right there. They were running back up to fill that gap. As soon as they filled it, off it goes to the downside. And then we talked about this reversal. It comes back up and you really make a double top here. So even though this doesn't break higher here, notice there's a move down, another move up, another move down that pushes through the EMA, another move up. So that's very close. If it would have ticked higher right there, you could say, hey, yes, this is definitely a failed, this is a reversal pattern. It looks close enough anyway. Big bearish bar, I'd go short right there. And again, off you go to the downside. Where does it bounce? Right at the previous lows right there. And we actually got a break of this little channel coming down here. You get your break right here, and you get two legs down to a new low, and then you try to go short once, push up, you try to go short twice. It's not a really good reversal pattern because it didn't get through the EMA, but there is definitely a trend line, and you can see prices creeping up that trend line. With this being a double test, notice we made that low. We tested it once, we tested it twice, and we've actually tested it again over here and over here. That's probably a good place to get long with a quick with a failed second entry short there. Notice that new low, first entry, second entry. You got to be careful on these failures when you're going sideways because they don't mean as much. So I'm not as inclined to like that failed second entry. But the fact that it's a double test and it's that strong support where we keep bouncing and there is a little bit of a trend line working up there, I'm probably going to take that. And it does. It keeps working up. It's not very strong. But it's still that's a trend to the upside. It's nothing spectacular, it's nothing strong, but prices are steadily making higher highs and higher lows here. And you finally get a couple of closes outside and a move to a new high, and then it starts to the downside. I don't see any shorts here I really like. There's a failed second entry long there, but you're going short right into that and right at the 12 o'clock hour. Even though it pushes down there and it would have been an easy trade, it's just not a very good setup. So I would just sit tight. And that takes you into the 12 o'clock hour. And you just want to skip all this. But you can see when the news item came, we had this failed break lower, and then off it goes with that two legs up. And then we get a leg down. And there's actually a little jog right here before you get a two-legged correction. And then another leg down. And then it tries to go higher again. One thing you might have been looking at from here is that we may make another measured leg up similar to what we made here in the news both of these together, because that is a two-legged correction. And but it didn't end up doing that. We just end up still working sideways. But we start to settle back down right here. This is, like I said, this is looking kind of normal here. And we're just really working sideways, and you get a little failed break higher, and you get that big bearish bar. And this is a double bottom, so there's a, let me move this out of the way. Make it a little bigger so maybe it's easier to see. But this is a double bottom, so it's a new low right here. So first entry and then second entry, and you could also look at this as congestion with a little failed break higher. I like going short right there, hoping that you get that next leg down just like that, and that gives you a target or back down to this trend line, which really looks pretty valid right there. It doesn't end up getting there, but you can see when it comes back again, it does bounce right off that trend line. And you can see prices are working around this midline up here as well. So that was a pretty good trade as well. I don't think you want to get long right where this previous these highs were. Actually, I would have moved this up by now up here. And even then, I don't like getting long here because we just came off the high on a failed break. So there's too much odds we're heading lower, which we do end up heading lower, but it makes one more run to the upside first. And notice you got a little trend working up here, and then you pull back and it bounces right off the EMA. I'm not crazy about that entry. However, you've got a second entry short right here that bounces right off that. This is just the first entry, but there's definitely a trend working up there. That's the first break, and you get a nice bounce. Generally, I'd probably want to wait on a second entry here, and you never get it. So I really thought, what I was really looking for, and this is where you got to be careful, is that when we made this first two legs up, when we started at a higher low here, we might make another measured leg up like this whole move here. And so that's what you were hoping to maybe catch right there. But it's good for a scalp, and then it turns back down. So I don't see any shorts in here until right here. Notice that you've got this working down, and you get a first entry, and this is a little bit of congestive, and you get that failed break. And this actually went higher and turns and goes out the other side. I kind of like going short right there, just to see if it makes another leg down like this one, or even if it's coming here, you got plenty of room. And that's a really bearish bar, especially when it broke higher and turned and went all the way out the other side. There's just enough room to get out there. You wouldn't have had a whole lot of room to play with. This one's close to being green. You could really argue for it to be green. But when it bounced right here, it actually makes a lower high right here. But now you just got too much support across there. I wouldn't enter in this one. And this one, you could even argue to be green here. So, and that really took you into the 2 o'clock hour. There is a failed second entry short right here, but you're going long. Even though it's right at 2 o'clock, you're going long right back into that resistance again. And I just don't think that's worthwhile. There just wasn't much happening in the afternoon, even after the news, basically after the news. So it was really a quiet day all the way around. You can see that again backing out there. Here's your overnight highs. Your overnight lows were here, but really it used the lows from the previous day, and you can see that was our support for the day for the most part, except for this little failed break, and that was our resistance for the day except for this failed break. Actually, we ended up bumping higher and closing higher for the day. But anyway, that's what I saw for the day. Just a really quiet, not a lot of trades today. And of course, the news announcements, what takes up, an hour and 15 minutes of your, prime early afternoon trading. So that doesn't help matters. But anyway, hope you had a good day. Just remember that about the news. That's the main thing, is that, you want to be out about an hour before an FOMC news. That's usually your big ones. I was surprised that we really got this much movement today. I haven't even looked at the news to see if they had a change in rates or anything. Generally, this time of year, to get this kind of volatility, you almost need some kind of change or something, but I haven't even looked at it. Okay, I just flipped over there to look, and it said Fed holds rate steady, but I guess they opened the door for a possible rate cut, which is a kind of a change in their wording, because they've been saying, they thought they might increase again. So that's probably what gave the market a little boost here in the afternoon. Opportunity that there'll be a rate cut. We'll have to see. We don't really care what the news is. We just want to make sure we go. I mean, even if you know what the news is, it doesn't matter, because you can see here it went spiked down first before it spiked up, and so it doesn't matter if you know the news ahead of time. It's not really going to help you because you just never know how the market a lot of times will have changes in this. They already have these news items built into the market. And so when you really good news that you would think would make the market go up will suddenly send it tumbling down, and vice versa. You'll get bad news, but then you'll hear, well, the market already had the news item built in. They'd already worked it down to that level if it was, going down, or they already worked it up to that level. But honestly, my personal opinion is they write the news to fit the price action, because that's just my honest opinion. I truly believe they write the news. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what to expect, and they don't know what it's going to do. So they look at the price action and they write the news to fit it. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.